Many abstract wood sculptures aren't designed to impress a crowd. They're built to sit with you, on your desk, on a shelf, next to a notebook or a cup of coffee. They don't take up much space. But they hold attention. Not by shouting, but by being completely themselves. Solid. Natural. Focused. Each one is a shape, not a thing. Not a bird, or a face, or a tree. Just form. Just grain. Just a line or a curve or a twist that doesn't explain itself. You might see movement in it. Or weight. Or rhythm. Or nothing at all, and that's the point. You don't need to understand it. You just feel it. Some pieces are smooth, rounded blocks that look like river stones carved from walnut. Others are sharp, geometric angles that slice through the grain, catching light on every edge. Some are vertical. Others lay flat. Some balance delicately, like they might tip over any second, but don't. That tension is part of the design. The wood speaks first. Maple. Ash. Cherry. Oak. Sometimes darker species like wenge or reclaimed tropical hardwoods. The grain is visible, always. You'll see knots. Rings. Curling patterns that swirl like smoke frozen in time. Some sculptures are made from a single block. Others are layered, glued, or joined, but even then, the work stays minimal. Clean. Uncluttered. These sculptures live best in quiet spaces. On a work table. On a desk. On a narrow ledge next to your monitor. You glance at them in between emails, between thoughts, between tasks. They don't move. But they hold stillness. And that stillness is contagious. They're often small, 3 inches. 5 inches. Enough to fit in the palm of your hand. Some are freestanding. Some rest on tiny plinths or steel bases. Others lean on a corner or rest at an angle that catches light just right. You don't hang them. You don't mount them. You just place them. And they stay. Some are carved. Others are shaped with a grinder or sander. Some are assembled, small blocks glued at strange angles, like a puzzle with no solution. The best ones make you turn them, look at them from a new side, and realize it looks completely different. They reward attention. But don't demand it. And they're personal. You don't buy these to match your office. You choose them because they speak to you, quietly, in the background. They don't distract. They don't perform. They ground. They anchor. They say, I'm here. You're here. Let's work. Some people collect them. A row of small forms. All different. All cut from different woods, or finished differently. Oiled. Waxed. Charred. Left raw. Each one is a moment, a frozen decision. A shape that didn't exist until someone carved it from a scrap of timber and decided it was enough. And that's the power. They're made from leftovers. Offcuts. Ends. Blocks no bigger than your fist. But turned into sculpture. Into something complete. Not useful in the traditional sense. But meaningful. Centered. Intentional. That's why they work on a desk. Because your desk is where the pressure builds. Where the to-do list lives. Where the noise piles up. A mini sculpture, calm, wordless, unmoving, becomes a visual reset. A pause in object form. Some are completely abstract. Others suggest something, a shell, a flame, a ripple, a wave, but only barely. Nothing is literal. Everything is optional. They're open-ended. Like a question. Like a breath. That's what makes mini abstract wood sculptures for desk decor special. Not their size. Not their polish. But their presence. Small objects with weight. Shape without meaning. Art that doesn't need a gallery, just a small, flat surface and a bit of stillness. You don't have to explain it. You just have to look. Mini abstract wood sculptures have a way of slipping into your space without making a scene. They don't beg for attention. They don't overpower a room. They just sit quietly somewhere in the corner of your eye, on a desk, a shelf, a windowsill, and slowly start to reshape the way the space feels. You don't always notice them right away. But over time, you realize that their presence has settled into the room like a kind of visual weight. A calming detail. A grounded interruption in an otherwise mechanical, screen-filled environment. At a glance, these sculptures are simple. They're small, sometimes no larger than the palm of your hand. But that's what makes them powerful. Because within that small scale, they hold an entire conversation about form, texture, balance, and space. Each piece is its own world. A world made not of grand gestures but of subtle tensions. Gentle curves meeting sharp edges. Negative space wrapped in smooth surfaces. Unexpected angles that make you tilt your head just a little to understand what you're looking at. They're called abstract, but that doesn't mean random. The best ones are intentional in every way. They don't depict recognizable objects. Not animals, not people, not flowers or furniture. Instead, they offer suggestion. A folded ribbon. A twisting helix. A jagged shard suspended in stillness. They're explorations of form that don't need a label. You don't ask what they are. You just feel them. You trace them with your eyes. You let them sit near you, quietly shifting the atmosphere of the room. And when they're made from wood, everything changes. Because wood, even in the smallest form, carries weight. It carries history. It carries time. You can feel the tree in it even if it's been sanded and shaped and sealed. That grain, those patterns, rings like fingerprints, scars from knots, streaks of dark heartwood cutting through pale sapwood. Those details don't disappear. They become part of the sculpture's language. You don't just see the shape. You see how it was grown. How it lived. How it was cut, carved, finished, and placed back into the world in a new form. Different types of wood create entirely different moods. A tiny sculpture made from walnut feels warm, rich, steady. The deep brown tones catch the light in a way that suggests permanence, strength. A piece in maple, by contrast, feels lighter, almost weightless. Its smooth, pale surface reflects the room around it, adapting, shifting, quiet. Then there's oak with its coarse grain and open pores, a more rustic feel but grounded. Or cherry, which darkens with age and grows richer over time. Each species brings its own energy, its own voice. Some makers go further, combining multiple species into a single sculpture, contrasting light and dark, fine grain and rough, softwood and hardwood, all in a conversation of materials. The forms themselves vary. Some are smooth and flowing, carved into gentle loops, spirals, or undulating waves. Others are sharp and architectural, precise angles cut into blocky volumes, offset just enough to create movement. Some look like they were peeled or unfolded from a single plane, like origami translated into hardwood. Others are more like fragments of a larger whole, as if they were once part of a massive structure that shattered, and now you're left holding one piece that still holds the essence of the whole. These sculptures often play with balance. You'll see pieces that rest on one tiny point, as if they could tip at any moment but never do. Others stack elements in a vertical rhythm. Thin, wide, thin again. Each part resting perfectly on the one below it, defying gravity in a quiet, meditative way. You might see negative space used like a sculptor might use light, cutouts and voids that let the form breathe, that let air and shadow become part of the sculpture. A hollow ring, a square missing a corner, a wedge sliced at just the right angle to catch the sun for a moment during the day. What these sculptures do best, especially on a desk, is interrupt your routine. You sit there, surrounded by papers, screens, cords, notifications. And then you glance over and see a tiny arc of wood, perfectly smooth, catching the light. For just a second, your mind shifts. It's not a big moment. It's not dramatic. But it's real. You've been taken out of the chaos and dropped into a space that is still, balanced, intentional. That's the power of these objects. They're visual anchors in a storm of productivity. And the best part is they ask nothing from you. They don't need interaction. They don't beep or light up or remind you to respond. They just exist. And in their existence, they bring presence. They remind you that there's still room for form, for craft, for slow ideas in a fast environment. Many of these pieces are handcrafted by artists who work at a scale most people overlook. Tiny pieces sanded by hand. Joints fitted perfectly. Surfaces sealed not with glossy lacquer but with soft oil finishes that let the grain breathe. You might see tool marks still visible, faint lines from a chisel or rasp, evidence of the hand behind the work. And in that, you feel connection. You realize this isn't just an object. It's a gesture. Someone made this with care. Someone shaped this piece of tree into something that now sits on your desk, changing how you feel in your space. Some artists push into experimental territory, adding color, resin, metal, even magnetism. A small wooden piece with a copper thread running through it, or a magnet hidden inside so it subtly interacts with nearby objects. Others keep it pure, just wood, just form. No decoration. Just shape and grain, light and shadow. You'll also find kinetic sculptures, tiny mobiles or balanced pieces that sway gently if touched, or rock slightly when the desk moves. These aren't toys. They're slow-motion experiences. You nudge them and watch as the form responds, calms, settles. It's an interaction you feel rather than use, like a breath that reminds you to slow your own. And then there's placement. These sculptures don't need to be the center of the desk. They work just as well off to the side, near a plant, next to a lamp, on a windowsill where the light shifts across them during the day. Some people keep them close, right beside the keyboard, just to touch now and then. Others treat them like secret totems, hidden behind the monitor, only revealed when needed. There's no right way to keep them. Their value isn't in visibility, it's in presence. Over time, these mini sculptures become familiar. You don't always look at them, but you know they're there. You start to notice how the light hits them at different times of day. How the grain changes color when the sun comes through the window. How dust settles on the corners and gives them a slightly aged feeling. And rather than fading into the background, they begin to feel essential. Like part of the room's rhythm. Like a punctuation mark in your day. They're also excellent gifts, especially for people who live in fast-paced, screen-heavy environments. You give someone a small piece of abstract wood sculpture, and you're not just giving them decoration. You're giving them stillness, a reason to pause. A shape that asks nothing and yet offers something quiet and grounding. You don't need to understand design theory or sculpture history to appreciate these pieces. You don't need to be an artist to feel what they offer. You just need to sit, to look, to let your mind wander over the shape. That's enough. That's the point.